Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 5, Meakashi. So last episode, it started. Shion broke, I suppose, right? After hearing what Oreo and Mion was hearing and then the confrontation with Mion, yeah, she snapped, I suppose. Used a stun gun on Mion and then on Oreo as well. For Oreo, she killed her using the stun gun. She didn't know, but yeah, it stopped her heart and she didn't wake up anymore. So that's that. And yeah, let's see what happens today. I think we're gonna be seeing the scene with Kimiyoshi, right? The mayor? Maybe. But let's see how it happened then. I'm loving all these answers that we're getting. Very nice. I was having such a happy dream. Satoshi-kun was in a dream. He was leading his normal everyday life. He was back on the baseball team. Irie and I acted normally around him because we knew that how mature people should act. We welcomed him back as if he had been here with us the whole time. Although he hits well in practice sessions, he still doesn't do well in a real game. Come on, Satoshi-kun. 3 strikes already? I'm cheering for you. And then Satoshi-kun pouted as he mumbled. I felt tears pouring down my face. Ooh. Sniffle.
Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun.
The happy dream faded out with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. I was in Mion's room at the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room crying. A dream is a dream. I wish I hadn't woken up, but one must wake up from a dream. We live in a world where there are no dreams, and that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream, because I felt like Satoshi-kun was right beside me.
Satoshi-kun? 帰ってきてくれたんだ。
There was no reply. That was the rule. If it was Satoshi-kun, I wish it would smile at me once. But Satoshi-kun's presence faded away, as if he were never there to begin with. I heard the phone ring by the front door. That's right. I was the only one in the house now, so I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had the bad cold. The phone continued to ring. I probably didn't have to answer it actually, but I was still half asleep and I could think of what or was answering the phone or all I could think of.
はい、Sonozaki です。
朝早くにすみませんな。Kimiyoshiでございます。
I guess Kimiyoshi.
おばあちゃんまだお休みですかな?
It was Uncle Kimiyoshi.
はい。昨日のが答えたみたいです。しばらく寝かせておこうと思います。
そうだね。無理に起こしちゃ悪いな。ミオンちゃんもこれから学校だよね。じゃあ枕元に伝言を置いといてもらってもいいかな。
わかりました。何と伝言しましょう。
ね。昨日の件で緊急に役員会を開くことになったんだけど、それをね、今日の夕方の5時から神社の集会所でって伝えてもらえる？
わかりました。伝えておきます。
As soon as put the phone down, it rang again.
はい、園崎です。
早朝から申し訳ありません。
Kasai.
葛西と申しますが、ミオンさんですか？おはようございます。
葛西さんですか？おはようございます。
シオンさんはまだそちらにいらっしゃいますか？
I wasn't panicked, but I hesitated. I could tell him no, or I could play both Mion and Shion.
シオンはさっき顔を洗ってました。呼んできますね。
I decided to play two parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again.
葛西？おはようです。
Damn, okay.
おはようございます、シオンさん。今日は登校されますか？
するわけないです。たるいし。
まあそんなとこだとは。それでシオンさん、沖宮へ帰る足はありますか？若いのに迎えに行かせますが。
君吉のおじいちゃんとかそのあたりに送ってもらおうかなと思ってます。私のことは放っておいてくれて OK です。
親父さんから出席日数だけは守らせるように厳命を受けていますので、私の小指のためにもご協力をいただきたいもんです。
まあ気が向いたら努力します。それより葛西、聞いてる？
聞いてるとは？
昨日のあれ。
一応は。恐ろしい話です。
これまでのタタリの犠牲者はさ、みんなダム戦争の時の戦犯だったわけじゃない？それが今年はちょいと路線が違う感じですよね。どう思う？
さあ、私の預かり知るところの話ではありません。
Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that.
夕べの犠牲者の2人がどうしてお社様のたたりを受けたか知ってる？
いいえ。
実は夕べちょっと聞いた話だと、なんか綿流しの最中に最後殿にこっそり忍び込んだらしいよ。鍵を針金か何かで開けて。
Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected him to say that he couldn't believe those people were chosen as victims for sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic.
そうですか。バカなことを。
あまあ富武さんもそのあたりには疎いよそ者だったってことだね。
I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai didn't wonder why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai for a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he said.
でさ、葛西、実はさ、私もなんだけど。
Okay, what is Kasai gonna say?
入ったんですか？
うん。
西宮殿に？シオンさんが？
うん。高野さんに一緒にどうって誘われてさ、高野さんと富武さん、そして私と、ほら前原屋敷に引っ越してきた圭一って男の子と一緒に4人で。
I heard Kasai sighing heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before.
シオンさん、去年ああいう一件があったばっかりなんですよ。 今度はどうけじめをつけられるおつもりですか？
去年が爪3枚だったから奮発して5枚くらいいっとく。あ、ごめん。でもふざけてるわけじゃないんだよ。そりゃ私だってヤバいとこだって認識はあったよ、少しは。でもさ、そこまでヤバいことなわけ？
シオンさんは仮にも園崎本家に縁ある方です。今さらそんなこと言ってまかり通ると思いますか？
っていうか、だって私ずっと沖宮。ばあさんに嫌われて以降、ひなみ沢にはほとんど近づいてもいない。その上、学園に閉じ込められて過ごしてたんですよ。そんなの私が知るはずないじゃない。
I heard another sigh from Kasai. That sigh told me my excuses would be useless.
シオンさん、私はあなたの味方のつもりです。極力シオンさんを信じてあげたいと思っています。ですが、いくら私でもかばいきれないことがあります。第一、
ごめん。お姉が来たから切ります。じゃね。
Click. I interrupted Kasai and hung up. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Kasai reject me. He, who had been my ally all my life.
チェ、参った。なあ。
I could hear the sound of the cicadas. The sound made it feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan, making a sizzling noise. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew that sneaking to the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter. But I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think it was Rika-chama said that the previous lock was too heavy for her, so she had it changed to the cheap one. That was how Takano-san broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. So I slapped my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. I had to calm down. What was the point of fuzzing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. I mean, kinda true though, right? Yeah, you already killed your grandma. There was no use on thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of the well. Therefore, it was already past the point where I could just cut my fingers off in apology. I felt so unstable. I'd walked in the fence around the swing at the park before as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun because even if I fell, it was only a short distance. But it wouldn't have been fun if I were up really high. At that very moment, I was in fact already on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence at the park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. I couldn't step back because there was nothing behind me. That was, in short, the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took another step, I'd fall if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall eventually. So I couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I'd ever find a firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move onward. If staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk even if I die as a result. Even if there was a dead end ahead of me, at least I tried my hardest. In general, I tried to be optimistic. I could have set my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I'd struggle as much as possible. I'd already killed the hag. For that, there could be no other punishment than death. I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was
死
actually...
人がなおもあがこうとしたら
Okay, I actually clicked it. I was actually already dead. Sorry.
そりゃ特攻あるのみでしょ。
I clenched my fist tightly as I muttered. Even if I had to die, I couldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Satoshi-kun. Who did it? For what purpose? And why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I was going to expose. Yes, I was going to settle the score. I'd carry out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I have to say is that she hadn't been feeling well since Higurashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Just in case her friends at school became suspicious, maybe I'd start telling them I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my lack of sleep. But the thing is, this Sonozaki family, it's not like a random family though. It's a very, very big family, right? People will eventually find out, or people would look for Oreo, right? Like, why? I mean, no, what I'm saying is, why didn't people look for her? Like, I think it was a couple days, right? After the Watanagashi, when all the events in chapter 2, and no one even bothered to check on her? I don't know. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I already told Kasai that I snuck into the shrine storage. So I'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away due to the curse of Oyashiro-sama. But then again, yeah, Shion was talking about families, right? What do you call this? Ministry, something like that. Was it last time? But yeah, she was talking something like that. So maybe that's why they didn't check on Oreo. I don't know. Never mind. She's dead anyway, so let's continue. The last person I have to think about was the fourth one who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Maibara. Maybe I can use him as bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kei-chan, you're going to be my bait. I felt a little bad since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked. It was almost time to leave the house.
みーちゃん、遅い遅い。待っててくれたわけ？先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
あれ、ミオン。
Dude, I want to play this side by side with the second chapter. I want to see again.
お前、顔が赤くないか？息も妙に荒いし。
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
Rena put her hand on my forehead.
レナの手、冷たいな。みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。そんな大したことないよ。半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。あんまり無理するなよ。
あれ、ケイちゃん、気遣ってくれるの？嬉しいな。
I'd always thought that he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought they would tease me, but they didn't.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。先生にはお休みだって伝えとくよ。大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし。すぐに効いてくると思うから。
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無理するなよ。って言いながら。時間！
走らないと間に合わない。スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。 走ろう。それでは委員長、号令。
Kirits.
起立。気をつけ。
I had made the same mistake before. I never learned, do I?
みーちゃん本当に大丈夫かな。今日は具合悪そう。あら、そうなんですの。
Oh, Satoko is here.
それはよくありませんわね。
I wonder how Shion is gonna, what do you call this? Pretend to act around her. It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things differently from Mion, I had an excuse.
まああれだ。女の子には体調が悪くなる日もあるってことだな。
僕にはそんな日はないのですよ。みぱー。
Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Keiichi Maibara. He might suddenly disappear one day, so I couldn't let that happen. Oh, she said I couldn't. That would be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole in my hands. Okay. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite out of Keiichi. I had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. Spying on him at school like this wasn't good enough. Should I have him meet with Shion and let her explain that he's in danger? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. I didn't think Keiichi realized how serious a crime it was to step into the ritual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the three families would know about the incident from last night, but Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious too. That should make him aware of his surroundings, and maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. I was very sleepy too. I had to be alert, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. So I decided to go home early. Since I'd been pretending to be sick since morning, my request was approved. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi washing his face.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。表の方が気分いいもんね。
あ、ミオンか。授業サボるなよな。
It looked like it felt refreshing for him to wash his face with cold water. I washed my face too, but it didn't feel as good as it looked.
ミオン、風邪の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて、風邪薬の副作用なんだろ。
あはは、実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。それでエンドレスに。
I pretended to drink with an invisible glass.
徹夜明けかよ。心配して損した。
Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried.
じゃあな、俺は教室に戻るぜ。帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらして側溝や用水路に落ちるなよ。
Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom.
あ、そうそう、ケイちゃん。
I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around.
なんだ。
変なことを聞くけど、深く考えないで答えてね。
それは内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
Yes, at this point, Keiichi doesn't know yet. I noticed Keiichi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. He was frightened that Mion Sonozaki might know about it. I guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of Mion Sonozaki.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。 ほらケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ。
I could clearly see how this made Keiichi felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse.
さあ、どうかな。あったような、合わなかったような。
He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. Well, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. Damn, Shion. He was just a brat, unlike Satoshi-kun. Okay, we get it. Satoshi-kun is better. Although when it came to lying and acting, Satoshi-kun was about at the same level. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for at least trying to tell a lie. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now.
そう。じゃあもう一つ質問ね。同じく夕べ、シオンに会わなかった？
This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed as I'd expected.
それ、昨日も聞いたよな。俺、あったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
I'd asked him that yesterday? He must have meant that Mion Sonozaki asked him that question. In other words, she asked him then after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn you, Mion. When I asked her, she said she had no idea we went into the ritual storehouse.
そうだっけ。また改めて聞いたら違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
Did I like how this is playing? Yeah, it's same as in the second chapter, but we are in Shion's POV, right? And then we're seeing what she's thinking while saying this to Keiichi. She's messing with him.
どうしてあったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't hide his panic as he flared up with me.
大したことじゃないの。富武さんと高野さんとシオンとケイちゃんをね、悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。不愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
I made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, then left. Damn. Dude, Shion. Nobody can tell us apart. We're Mion and Shion, perfect twins. Page 186. What do you call Shion again? It's hard to say. Now I wanted to say nuisance, not nuisance. What is the word? I don't know the word. When I returned to the Sonozaki house, I saw a woman with an apron on. It was a housekeeper. Her name is Shimiko-san. The hag and a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house.
ミオンちゃん、本当によかった。困ってたんですよ。
ありゃ、シミコさん。何かご用で？
Today was her turn to come help out the house. She'd arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She called, but there was no answer, so she had been just standing there, not knowing what to do.
バッチャですね。綿流しの祭りで面白くないことがあったみたいで、昨べからすごく機嫌が悪いんです。
ああ、そうですか。
Shimiko-san tried to remember if she had done something wrong.
別に無視してるんじゃなくて、寝込んでるだけなんです。昨べ、だいぶ遅くまでカリカリしてたから、多分まだ起きられないんじゃないでしょうか。知ってるでしょ？一度機嫌を損ねたバッチャが、どれだけの期間機嫌が悪いかを。
そうですね。困りましたね。
しばらく顔を見せない方がいいと思います。シミコさんに悪気がなくても、 バッチャは何かと咎めてくるに違いありませんから。こういう時は私に任せといてください。
そうですか。それは助かりますけど。
シミコさん、申し訳ないんですけど、他のお手伝いさんにもしばらく来なくていいと伝えてもらっていいですか？バッチャの機嫌が治ったらこっそり電話しますから。しばらくそっとしてあげてください。
Shimika-san bowed and then left on her bike. Anyone who had ever experienced a granny's rat would understand. I headed into Mion's room, set her alarm clock for 2 p.m. and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School should be out by 2 p.m. Maybe I'd get in touch with Keiichi. I'd had to call him. There would also be a staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All the leaders of the three families, their relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. They were all authority figures in Hinamizawa. I'd be attending in place of the hag who was sick, so I'd worry about the rest when I got there. People shouldn't notice that Mion and the hag were missing for a long time, so I didn't need to worry as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more, then fell asleep as if someone switched me off. And then we wake up at 2 p.m. I guess call Keiichi, right?
あ、園崎の妹の方です。こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか？
シオンか。ミオンと同じで今日は寝不足で寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
え？ひょっとしてお姉、早退ですか？お姉らしい。
Keiichi had no idea that the Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way he would notice on the phone. I never knew that playing two roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death, maybe I was getting used to the situation. Or maybe my senses had gone numb.
ごめんな。ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。何の用だ？
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか。ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
図書館って駅前の私立図書館ですか？別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
We decided to meet in Okinomiya. It wasn't easy to get there from Hinamizawa, but I had to hurry. I couldn't run into Keiichi as he was heading there himself. So I recalled that the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. The hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errands, she rode her motorcycle. Keiichi, I assumed, was going to ride his bicycle, so I tried to get to Okonomiya before he did. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here either.
ミオンと違って、シオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
お姉を標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
ん？少しフラフラしてないか？お前も昨べは寝不足だろ？隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私、お姉より要領いいですから。
おいおい。学校をずる休みするのを要領いいとは言わないと思うぞ。
じゃあ、先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから。図書館へ行くんですよね。
ああ、頼むよ。 おふくろの借りてる本の返却期限が今日までらしいんで。図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. I was just going to talk to him on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okunomiya. After our talk, Keiichi would slowly head back to Hinamizawa on his bike. I'd have to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. Otherwise, I couldn't make it in time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late, but since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. So this was the Shishibone Public Library. It was sizable, filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning and it was quiet. It was a perfect place for when you wanted to be alone. After Satoshi-kun disappeared last year, I came here a lot to think about various things. This was where I first met Takano-san. I didn't want to run into her with Kiichin though. But then I remembered that she was already dead. The first floor of the building was occupied by the government offices. I remember that in this part, we also met Oishi, right? I think he was also here. The library itself was on the second floor, so we had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. I tasted cool air on my skin as I walked through the automated door. Unlike outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages.
どこの図書館も似たようなもんだな。
Keiichi walked up to return the table after he said so, or to the return table. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It really was very, very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things, and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him into the inner section of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our life story. This was actually or exactly where Takano-san told me about the true history of Hinamizawa. A year ago, I was about to tell Keiichi about things that were very similar to that. Did God have a sense of irony?
言われてみれば。例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。そういえば、エンジェルモートも親類の人が経営してるんじゃないのか？
I told him the reason why the Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that Keiichi came from the city, so there was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire area. Unless I explained it to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling toward him.
特に金融・不動産関係は強いですね。あと商工会議所の役員も何割かは園崎姓かその親類がついてます。沖宮一帯を評伝に市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。沖宮の町中に親類が経営する店があって、特に金融・不動産に強い。しかもその上、商工会議所の役員の何割かが親類で、しかも地元選出の議員までいて。
Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all that about the Sonozaki family. It seemed he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly. The way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little by little too. That should be enough background information. Now I could go on to explain about Mion Sonozaki, the successor. Then I'd change the subject like Takano-san did with me. I'd go on to talk about the curse of Oyashiro-sama and then the series of mysterious deaths.
ひょっとして園崎家ってこの辺り一帯じゃすごいんじゃ。
ねえ。
Yes, I told you he was gonna come. I quite remembered that he was coming here.
すごいんです。
A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut into our conversation. Oishi? Why was he here?
どうも。こんにちは。今日はデートですかな？羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。おいさん。
What timing? It couldn't be a coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi, or perhaps the both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to help Keiichi away from me. But he was trying to keep, did I say help? Keep Keiichi away from me. Oishi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi-kun last year. Maybe he didn't think he could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Oishi need to talk to Keiichi? It must be the incident from yesterday. I'm sure there were plenty of plainclothes officers at the festival, so they had to have seen who was the last with the victims. In other words, Keiichi and me. But Oishi knew I was hard to deal with. That was why he was focusing on Keiichi at present. Why did he have to show up at a time like this?
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
Too timing.
いや、そんな二股だなんて。
Keiichi looked at me hoping for assistance. He blushed the way he panicked, reminded me of Satoshi-kun. That aside, this wasn't going well. Oishi might even start talking about my relationship with Satoshi-kun. I didn't want him, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Oishi took a glance at me. His eyes told me something. He was purposely talking about the things I'd rather not talk about. He was basically telling me to leave or he'd continue on something that was worse than what they were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that way. That damn big fat weasel.
ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私もうバイトの時間なんです。
あ、そうなのか？
I realized that I wouldn't achieve anything like this even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. Oishi looked at me and grinned. Damn it. He won today, but I'll win next time.
そういえば、今日はシオン、何か話があるんじゃなかったのか？なんなら。
また今度。あ、バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ。大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ、今夜電話しますので、その時に。じゃあ。
Okay. Dude, I love the scenes, man. Seriously, man. Seriously. Okay. I guess we'll take a break here. But yeah, I keep saying this episode that I love it. But I really do love it because we rarely have, like, let's say games, shows even, anime shows, or anything basically that you go to the POV of the other person, right? Like we already saw, we saw this already on the second chapter, right? But in this turn, we are in Shion's perspective. What is she thinking? What is she gonna do? Etc. All of that in her mind, right? And she is messing with Keiichi here. Like, you look at it at a different perspective, right? Like when we were at Keiichi back then, it was like, Shion. Shion's like this. She wants to talk. Mion there. But in this one, like Shion is like, I need to mess with Keiichi, etc., etc. She's inducing, she's pretty much what is the word, forcefully? Not forcefully, I don't know the word, but she really is, yeah, messing with Keiichi here. She wants that paranoia, I suppose, to build up, right? And it's just nice to see that, man. Even though it's like it's messed up, of course, but like for stories like this, it's nice. This answer arcs is very nice, man. I'm gonna enjoy all of them. We're still in the first answer arc right now, right? And yeah, we're still gonna have more of that for the other question arcs that we had earlier. So yes, we're gonna continue this and do more of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 5, Meakashi, in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.